When you run, you have to work for something, you have to set goals. There are a lot of things that you have to think of along the way. Life's no different. You have to make a plan. You make your training plan. You figure out where you want to be in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, where do you want to be in 10 weeks, what do you want to do for the race? Well, how's that different from anything in life, If you want to do something, if you want a job, for example, what do you have to do to get that job? So it's one of those things that running really helps with that, getting yourself organized, getting yourself disciplined. And for me personally, it's really helped out. It helped my organization as a teacher. It's helped my drive. I thought that I was a pretty good teacher when I first started out, but I've come to realize that there was a lot more I could have done. Running really helped that. Being able to do the things I've done with the running has really transferred over to my professional life, my personal life, working on relationships and things like that. So it really helps. It's a great way to plan, and it does transfer. I always say, if you're having success in your running, you're usually having success with your life too. The pieces seem to fall in the right place. When I first got my first teaching job, it was a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. It was tough, and the environment was very difficult, and it was something I was not prepared for, and I'll just admit that right off the bat. I was not sure that I was going to continue teaching in my first year, but I needed something to do to take my mind off of it, because there was a lot of negativity going on, and I decided that I read about a 5K that was happening. It was actually a 5K in Ipswich, Massachusetts, that I thought, hey, you know what? I used to run in middle school. Why don't I do it? Why don't I work for this? And I trained for it, and I took about 6 weeks to train for this race, and it really helped out, and having this distraction, I never knew that it was going to blossom into what it ended up becoming. So I'm actually, I guess, very fortunate that I had a difficult time. I think the running helped me. I definitely closed that year a lot better than it began. We had some success. I was a band director, and we ended up having a lot of success, and it was actually a very rewarding thing. So that running really helped, and that's how I got back into it. It's just I came across a rough patch, and started running to help me out with that. The funny thing is that when I was in middle school, I was very interested in running, and I was fascinated by the Boston Marathon. So a secondary dream of mine became to run the Boston Marathon. And I remember when I was in 7th grade watching I believe it was the 1994 Boston Marathon, and it was just so inspiring to think that these people could run 26 miles at a pace that was faster than I could do 1 mile. When I first started running, I was 255 pounds, so you can imagine how tough that would have been. It gradually got easier, but the weight was definitely a big factor. It was just something that was very hard to overcome. It's like, if you take a 40-pound bag of rocks and you put it on your shoulders, that's kind of how it feels, I guess, now that I'm 40 pounds lighter. But that was definitely something that was very tough. In order to get into the Boston Marathon, I had to qualify first. My first marathon was the Hyannis Marathon, which I ran in just under 4 hours, not even close enough, but that wasn't the goal of that marathon. That goal was just to finish. My second marathon was in Virginia Beach. I came a little closer to that goal. But not quite fast enough. It was the third marathon where I knew I had a shot to qualify, and that was in Philadelphia. So I had a really good 18-week program to get me ready for that. And then once I was done with that marathon, I finished that in 3:07, which qualified me by 3 minutes. And that's when I knew that I was going to be able to get into the race that I'd always dreamed about. It always seems that every time I run a marathon, there's always some kind of injury. Usually not a big one, but enough to make me wonder, is this going to work out? And fortunately, it does. But, I always seem to have an issue with, maybe I tweak a hamstring or, just pull the calf a little bit. And so, overcoming those injuries and making sure that I don't do too much too soon after an injury, that can be a thing that I need to overcome. One of the hard things that I had to overcome was the death of my father, which happened in the September of 2009, and he was only 58 years old, and I was 28 at the time. And it was just a shock, not expected. This was not something that was expected. And I think that when he passed away, I didn't really have a problem continuing my training. I thought to myself, what would he want me to do? I mean, he certainly wouldn't want me to stop training. He wouldn't want me to, give up, of course. He'd want me to keep running. So, when that happened, it was very tough, but just thinking of what he would want me to do, I just kept going. That's what he would have wanted. I always imagined him talking to me, just like he would have when he was alive. You got to keep going with this. You got to keep moving forward. Just put one step in front of the other. Just imagining him looking over me and being a part of me as I worked for my goals. I didn't miss a beat, which, when I look back at it, it's kind of amazing that I didn't miss a beat. Just had to keep going. That's what he would have wanted from me. That '09 marathon after my father had died, it isn't my fastest time. I've run faster since, but that's the race that got me into Boston. That's the race that fulfilled my dreams of finally getting into the Boston Marathon. So that '09 race, I felt like I had it in the bag, right from the start, which is a very daring thing to think of when you're running a marathon. But with all the training, I just felt so good in that race, and I was strong all the way through, and it was just a remarkable experience. And when I crossed that finish line, just knowing that I was going to Boston, I was gonna be able to start that race and fulfill that long childhood dream of mine. I learned that it is about the journey. It's about the journey. Even if you don't obtain the goal that you're looking for, you keep going for it. You keep trying to find what you're looking for. And even if you don't find it, you can be proud of what you did. You can look back on the accomplishments. And with my journey so far, which by the way has not ended, I look back at it and I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of those weeks that I put in, all those miles. Looking back on it, it's just, it's really fulfilling to look back on it.